I'll watch this. Do graphics sell games anymore?
I think we're moving away from insanely high fidelity graphics, Chad. I had a funny observation. Also, we were just talking during dinner. I think one of the contributing factors why Final Fantasy also has been decreasing in popularity over the years with FF16 and like Rebirth is also the fact that graphics don't exactly matter as much. And Final Fantasy as an overall series...
To be fair, Final Fantasy 16 was not the same difference. Like, whenever Final Fantasy X came out, it was basically the next generation. It was so far ahead and above everything else that it was not even remotely close. 16 really wasn't that. The reason why 16 was amazing is that you got to play cutscenes. Like, all of the crazy, awesome boss fights that you would see in, like, cinematics and, like, the previous games. Like, it's like, think of, like, the coolest battle from Pacific Rim or from Transformers, and there's just buttons and you get to play it yourself. It's an amazing game. But, yeah.
As an overall existence.
The graphics were not amazing.
Every
they were
new
just
Final
great.
Fantasy game is going to blow your balls off visually. All the way
Yeah.
up until Final Fantasy 15 has that been true. And even FF7 Remake to a certain degree, that shit was true. Where it's like, oh my god, the upgrade from the previous system to this one?
Yeah.
Holy shit, bro. Like, Final Fantasy is the game that you buy to, like, justifies my console existence. Like, I buy
That's
this.
probably a good point. I think that he's right. Also, another example of, I'm assuming bald equals bad. Am I right about this? I never played Final Fantasy VII. And, no. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Right.
Buy this because look how good it looks.
Yes.
Like, holy shit. Final Fantasy has always gotten a lot of sales based on that relationship where people just don't give a shit about Final Fantasy, but it'll pick people up and get them to play because it's just visually gorgeous. All I'm pitching is that...
And I'll be honest, I think that Final Fantasy 16 was visually amazing. You want to know why I really think, like, this is like a super meta level take, and I could be wrong about this, but the reason why Final Fantasy 16 wasn't popular on Twitch is because Twitch doesn't have the bitrate to make people be able to enjoy the game. Enjoy watching a game. Like, if I go and I watch, for example, look at this. First time, demo. Okay, here we go. This is not very good. The quality on this is very, very, very not good. And if you even go and you look at... Oops, just a second. Okay, yeah, here we go. What the fuck is this? Here, perfect. There it is. This was awful to watch, not gonna lie. Yeah. And so I think that plays a factor. That's because of the bitrate. It is. Because it looked great on my screen. It looked amazing. So yeah, I think that's another reason too.
Are obviously great, obviously beautiful, obviously makes you feel like, oh, my system is worth it. This console generation specifically, I don't feel like graphics are selling games anymore, because some of the games that all of a sudden just like explode and are on top, like all of a sudden through virality and whatnot, are good looking games, but are they like the Uncharted's or something like that that really pushed visuals and all this kind of shit? Not really. Like, the virality of certain games sort of blows up. It is due to other reasons other than just straight visuals. So now you...
other reasons besides straight... Yeah, I think that's definitely true. But I think also if you go back and you play a lot of the old Final Fantasy games that were really popular because they had great graphics, they were also good games. I feel like there were always games that had good graphics, but nobody played them and they were just bad.
Get clearly amazing looking games, which is Rebirth and 16. Gorgeous games, like, holy shit, dude. But they don't perform as well because people just aren't in it for the visuals anymore. And then you get something like Elden Ring, and I like this comparison. I'm gonna be...
Yeah, Elden Ring. God, bro, I'm so glad he's gonna say this because I got so much fucking hate for saying this. And he's completely right.
Real. Elden Ring is a gorgeous game, but I just looked at the gameplay trailer and that bitch ass game is not graphically impressive, bro. They're like...
He's right. He's absolutely fucking right. So there are two different things. There is graphical fidelity and art design and visuals. The visuals of Elden Ring are so insanely fucking good that they make the fidelity of the game completely irrelevant. Same as Bloodborne. Bloodborne is awful. But Bloodborne, if you actually look at the bosses, they look like fucking garbage. And it doesn't matter because the art style is amazing and the lighting is great. Like the lighting in Elden Ring carries it so much.
Doing all these zoom ins and tight shots of shit, and I'm like, yeah, this game is kind of rough visually.
See, whenever I said it, you were mad. But see, he said it too. We both can't be wrong, right?
Most games now, if you like zoom in so much and it still looks good and it's like that's important about the game, no. Games like Elden Ring and even especially FF7 Rebirth to a certain degree, you zoom in on with a microscope and you get this close and you're like, wow, this game looks like shit. But then you go back from here and you're like, whoa, this game's gorgeous. Like, even Zelda game, Breath of the Wild, is that shit where it's like, back from here, this game's gorgeous. Zoom in, this game looks like fucking trash, dude. I don't think we need to do this anymore.
I think that Nintendo realized that in 2006. I feel like Nintendo diverged from making graphically intensive games. Because, like, okay, so Super Nintendo was, like, best-in-class graphics. Like, Sega Genesis was really, really good, and things in between that and the N64 were also actually sometimes better than Super Nintendo. But Super Nintendo was amazing, right? Nintendo 64, keep in mind, Nintendo 64, the name was the graphics. That was the fucking name. 64 was a 64-bit system. That's how fucking big it was. It was insane. Like, whenever it came out, it was so far and above everything else. It was insane. And so, like, SNES was the best system. What I'm saying is, like, after the GameCube comes out, Xbox blows GameCube out of the water. It's not even close visually, right? In terms of, like, the computing power, right? Like, you look at a GameCube, look at Soul Calibur, right? Look at Soul Calibur on Xbox, look at it on GameCube. Time Splitters, Xbox, GameCube. Same thing, right? You can have a number of other examples, too. But with the Wii, they totally said, fuck it to the graphics. Who cares about graphics? And you still have games that have pretty good graphics, like Twilight Princess, etc. But it's very obvious that Nintendo at that point, and it is insane to me that they realized that in 2006. And realistically, even before then. That is crazy.
Personally, for a lot of these games with these big worlds,
Nintendo games age well? Well, here's the best example of that. Wind Waker. What aged better, Wind Waker or Twilight Princess? You know it, I know it, everybody knows it. There it is.
Crazy shit that's in them. I don't think we need to just peer into every corner, every facet. It's making
he's total, by the way, Max is 100% right. Like, you cannot be more right than what he is. He is so fucking right. And this is the thing that a lot of game devs don't understand, is you see them, like, focusing on, like, the facial movements of the characters. Nobody cares about this. Who the fuck gives a shit about this? It doesn't matter. That people want to play a game. They don't care what the character's facial movements are, how detailed the flowers are. Nobody cares. Oh, the bark on the tree. Oh, it looks aged? Yeah, so does the fucking game in 2 years. Stop it and make a good game. He's so right.
Take way too long to come out. If there is a problem with this current era in the industry that I personally hate, why the hell are games taking 4 to 7 years to come out? True. That is where shit needs to change. We do not need that extra fidelity. We don't. Where you spend so much money on this shit, you're effectively 7, 8 days, 9 days, 12 days.
I think that there is a place for games like Spider-Man and God of War that have just like almost photorealistic, or like, what is approaching or trying to approach photorealistic fidelity. But I do not think that should be a holy grail that people try to achieve. This should be something that is unique and this is like a movie quality game feature, and it should not be the majority. And also movie and interactive interactive games that are effectively a movie do not need to have good graphics. I played Undertale. I played The Coffin of Andy and Laylee. The graphics sucked. But the art direction was amazing. And the style was amazing. The style of even Undertale, I feel like The Coffin of Andy and Laylee had amazing style. It was so fucking good.
To your Lethal Company profit quota. And you're the Spider-Man 2 devs looking at that profit quota, and it's like, well, it cost us so much money to get here, and where are we at? We have to make that much fucking money on this shit, and we don't hit the quota. Now people are laid off, even though you had like a banger of a run. Your game was incredible. It's like, this is not a functioning business anymore. This isn't. This
Yeah.
doesn't work out this way, dude.
Well, it's like these companies are spending 20% of their budget to go from 90% good graphics to 95%. It's just distorted. Just stop at 80 to 85 to 90. We're not really going to care. Like, I think another really great example is Helldivers. The best clips for Helldivers are usually visual and lighting spectacles. It's not about how, like the individual like markings on the gun. It's like the combined visual spectacle of the game, which matters 1,000 times worse.
The looking glass at every single tiny bit and piece of everything. It isn't
Yeah.
fun for us. It doesn't add any actual
True
element to the game. I don't think it's necessary. I really don't. I think
It's
the
over.
majority of games do not need to do that shit.
And also another reason why it's over is because graphics are reaching a plateau. For example, like in the PlayStation 1 era, graphics still had so far to go. But now you have games that are approaching genuine photorealism, where people can see visuals from Unreal 5 and be like, that's real. No, they're not. Yes, they absolutely are. It's not even it's not even a debate.
And they shouldn't be doing that shit. To be real, you know what games are also like that? And they really kind of fall apart when you get that close to things. Almost all of Capcom games in RE Engine. You really look like, take a sniper scope with Leon and RE4.
Yeah, Monster Hunter's graphics suck, but the style of the game is amazing and it doesn't matter.
And zoom in and look at little spots. And you're like, this looks like shit. This actually kind of looks sort of bad. But from the natural perspective the game presents to you, it's fucking beautiful. It's beautiful. Seemingly, Capcom has
You want to know the game that really fucking does this more than any game? Is Armored Core 6. Armored Core 6 graphics? Oh, not so good, huh? Not so good. But whenever Rusty says, I won't miss, and he hits that fucking ice, that ice worm, and he blows it up, and then you get to hit it, nothing beats it. That's what it's about.
And Dragon's Dogma 2 is, I'd imagine no exception, even though we didn't really look at that game too much. All I'm saying is that Capcom has
But if you go back, like, like that the fire mech that like they showed in the trailers, and you actually look visually at the fidelity, it's very not good. It's very run-of-the-mill. It's probably below average even. And nobody cares.
found a pretty decent balance. You know what game's also like that? Monster Hunter World. Monster Hunter World is the same shit. That game is fucking butt ugly when you stop and you just look at one spot. It's fucking butt ugly. But when you're running and doing things, it's gorgeous. Dude,
like I think that the really ornate sets in Monster Hunter World really show this off. Like the Velkhana set, for example. Holy fuck, this looks awful.
It is awesome. Oh my god. This shit is awesome. That's what I'm saying. It is an old engine. It's an old-ass game on like a decade-plus old engine. But they were able to pump out the best-selling Capcom game ever on technically old visuals. Now I go back and I look at it, and it's like the Switch is the best example of that. You know, even Monster Hunter Rise looks like an upscaled fucking PSP game at times, and it sold a shit ton, and it's insanely rough.
Yeah, I always can tell if it's Monster Hunter Rise footage because it looks bad. Like if I see a Monster Hunter game and it doesn't look good, that must be Rise. Like that's really what it is. The guy's so Capcom fanboy. No, I don't think he's like he's played he's a fan of Capcom, but I feel like he's been very critical of them multiple times. I've even seen videos of his that are critical. But yeah, I think this is absolutely true. But you care in a game like Cyberpunk though? No, see, like you're misunderstanding. So Cyberpunk obviously has great graphical fidelity and great quality, but it also has great gameplay. So like sprinkles can make a cupcake look really nice. And you would like to have a really good tasting cupcake with nice sprinkles on it. But if you had to choose between a cupcake made out of shit with really nice sprinkles or a nice cupcake with no sprinkles, you're going to go with the nice cupcake with no sprinkles. And that's graphics.
Looking. And I forgot about the visuals of Monster Hunter World when I was playing Rise.
And also, it was a mod for Cyberpunk, because mods will always upscale graphics. And that's, again, in my opinion, another argument even for what I'm saying. You don't need to do this because the community will do it on their own.
Because it was like, well, this is great. So anyway, related to Final Fantasy, all I'm saying is that Final Fantasy is a franchise that has sort of been based on the fact that every single new Final Fantasy is going to blow your balls off with its graphics and make you feel like you spent that $400 to $500 on your console. We're going to make it worth it, bro.
Yeah.
From the PS1 to the PS2 to the fucking PS3, even the
Sure.
PS4. To be real, FF7 Remake and Final Fantasy 15, you're like, God damn, dude, yeah, holy shit, this feels like a big upgrade over PS3 shit. Hell yeah, this is pretty cool. Now,
this maybe is like a weird opinion, but like I actually think the biggest graphical upgrade, like the biggest one, was like the PSP. Like I remember like the Final Fantasy games on the PSP. It was like, what the fuck? This is on a console or on a handheld? I can't even believe it. The small screen, yes.
Have the smallest amount of return investment on newer consoles compared to the previous one, man. The amount of shit that has effectively changed from the previous generation to this generation to an actual relative perception is mad low. It is big, don't get me wrong. Load times and how that impacts the overall game experience is profound. SSDs, in my opinion, are where this shit shines. That shit is amazing. But to be real, all of the extra time and effort going into raw visual fidelity is not worth the time or the return of investment from the previous generation to this one. It's just not worth it. It doesn't.
He's completely right. And also, like, you can have both. Like, for example, Final Fantasy 16 is a great example of that. Final Fantasy 16 runs so insanely fucking well. And also the, the load times are basically non-existent. But like loading screens, I think the only problem with loading screens is whenever you have to do multiple of them. Like the big problem with, like, I would say Starfield is that. It's not that Starfield has loading screens, it's that you have to go through like 2 or 3 of them. Like you go from your ship, it's like you're on a planet, you go into your ship, and then you sit down in the thing that you sit down in, your chair, and then you have to lift off. It's like you're going through 3 of them, right? But if it was just one, it wouldn't matter. It's the fact that you have to do all of them.
Feel like anything has really changed that much. This generation is really disappointing just in general. The only way that it's not disappointing is in SSDs, is in fast-ass loading, and now we can change our games to play differently because of fast loading.
Yeah.
I think that is 100% worth it. If we're talking about just like, oh, am I super enthused about my PS5 or Next box over the previous one?
Who cares?
No, dude.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. There is
I think also, like, more people are into PC gaming. Are we good? We good? Yeah, sorry about that. Had a little hiccup there. Not a big deal. But yeah, anyway, what was I even saying before? Give me a minute. Oh yeah, more people are into PC gaming. So now more and more people are using PCs. Like the general amount of people I think that are PC gaming is, I think, kind of gone up. And the people that have like awareness of like graphics cards, processors, etc., I think the general computer literacy of like gamers has gone up if you exclude mobile gamers.
Only one game on my PS5 that I emphatically feel is a substantial, massive upgrade from the previous generation. There's only one game I still fire it up and go, holy sweet dumb hell.
What is it?
Right there.
Yeah, this one was really good. He's right. It was really, really good. Like, this game, like, I was so happy whenever this game came out because it was the first one of the, like, remakes that was just so insanely fucking good. Like, everything about this game was fucking amazing.
It's this launch game. So to
I
me,
was really
it's
impressed.
Like, from what I've played
Ghost of
personally,
Tsushima?
this shit is the only thing
Maybe.
that felt like it was
I'm gonna play that on
update,
PC.
Right, a substantial update from the previous generation. What I'm saying is that I don't think it's worth it. I think it's good that these games are running better, but is it worth it for these games to take like 5 to 6 years to exist?
Well, at the end of the day, here's the question that the developers need to ask themselves. Is the extra 20% of your budget or 10% of your budget or however much money you're spending on your budget to taking the graphics from like an 8.5 to a 9.5, is that going to make you that amount of money back? And I think the answer to that is absolutely fucking not.
To put in every goddamn amount of effort, detail, developer time, concept art, all of this shit into the microscopic goddamn details of every single room, and I don't think it's worth it, man.
It's not relevant.
I don't think it adds anything to the game either. For
most people don't care about it. The only people that care about it are people that are paid to care about it, like game developers and game journalists. Like that's it. Like, normal people don't give a shit about this. Wuthering Waves graphics are good enough. Yeah, they're good enough. I think this is the way that, like, I would say, what do I think about, like, Dragon's Dogma 2, the graphics in that game? I'm going to be honest, I actually think the graphics in that game are really good. I do. I think they're really good. Even if I zoom in, like, yeah, I think they're really good. I think that's a great example. Wouldn't it be great if in Dragon's Dogma 2, the graphics were a little bit worse, but we had more than like 5 types of elites to fight? Like, I don't know. I think that'd be really cool. You know, like, that'd be way better than what the game is. Like, I love the game, but man, it really could have been a lot. Like, I feel like Dragon's Dogma 2 took so many unnecessary L's. And I think Dragon's Dogma 1 is better. They're both S-tier games, but I think Dragon's Dogma 1 is better.
Developers who effectively throw out a game because it's so expensive to do this shit now, the game has to sell a shit ton or else the studio is sunk. So it's like, hey, we're going to do this, and if it works, we're really going to be in it, or if it doesn't work, we're fucking dead.
Yeah.
That sort of a mentality leads an industry to take no risks. We can't take any risks anymore. We lost this.
And that's exactly why every game is coming out as live service, and they're trying to make every game, like, over-monetized. They're trying to over-monetize the games because they cannot afford a miss. That's exactly it.
Lost that. We fucked up here. We fucked up there. That leads us to an industry that is not creative. Creativity is now not encouraged. You just have to be safe and do this one thing that we...
Again, everything that he's saying is totally true, but only for AAA. Look at Hades 2. A lot of games that are very creative and are not following this. It's like Hollywood. Yes, exactly. No Rest for the Wicked. That's another great example. A AA, single A studio. Fucking insane. Such a great game. It's very highly priced right now. It's like $40 for early access. So unless you're like a big fan of the studio, you know, maybe wait for it to go on sale. But damn, it's a good fucking game.
know is going to work. Game
V
industry
Rising,
is made
another
by
great
creative
example.
People. The truly great games that are out there are made by creative people.
They
It's
are.
the same thing for every goddamn thing. The stuff that we love so much is not made at a board meeting. It's made by people who have a fucking vision, and they get everybody in line with their vision, and they execute within limited periods of time. Movie industries like that. The game industries
Yes.
like that. Everything's like that with larger scale development. Not a factory. You know, all I'm saying is that Nintendo,
And I think this is what happens with a lot of really big studios, is that they become so large that they are disconnected from the actual creative process. Like, the creative process is like secondary to making sure that the game is monetized in a certain way. Dave the Diver. Yeah, Dave the Diver is a perfect example of the opposite. Diablo 4,
all companies
great example.
seemingly is coming out on top now because they sort of get it. They knew they did not have to push graphical fidelity,
Yeah.
and people still invested heavily in Nintendo.
People don't care.
Even
Yeah.
now, with their next generation, they're moving to something potentially PS4 Pro in terms of visuals. Clearly, their workload's going to get much bigger. But
I think it's actually like Nintendo. I feel like somebody said like there's like this analogy where it was like Nintendo is like your grandma who's like really nice and always bakes you cookies, but she's also a racist. I feel like that's Nintendo. Nintendo, they do so many things better than anybody else. And it's like, look at, you know what a really great example of this is the Crab Souls game. Dog shit graphics. But like if you go, and this is kind of like another really good example. Asmongold crab game. Is this the end? Okay, yeah, this is the end. Look at this. Where is it? This was fucking amazing. This looks so cool. Literal trash. Yes, literal trash, but it looked amazing. And that's what mattered. It's the quality right there. But yeah, I mean, or God of Wars, yeah, it's so cute. Yeah, it is, but like, it's again, like, look at the actual quality here. This is not very good, but it's good enough.
They're going to be in a spot where game development was at
Pal
like 10
World 2?
years ago.
Yeah.
And it's going to look way better, don't get me wrong, but still, their choice to put out games isn't because they're taking forever to make. It's because that's just the way Nintendo fucking works. They do whatever the hell they want. They don't give a shit. They're just going to do what they want when they want, you know?
He's completely right. I'm going to be honest. I think that he is right about literally fucking everything. Yeah. Like, graphics, I think people just don't give a shit about graphics as much anymore. Because it's so hard for a game to simulate the Unreal 5 tech demos. Actually, that was cartoon plastic, can be more expensive than photorealistic. Yeah, maybe that's the case, right? But like at the end of the day, like photorealism in games and fidelity in that doesn't really matter to the average person. And I think that this should be, make sure you give the video a like. This is a great video. Max the OG GOAT, no question. Yeah, he's great. And so Hellblade 2 looks insanely good, but the game is meh as fuck. Exactly. Because nobody really gives a shit about the character's facial expressions. Nobody actually, like, this is not a deciding factor that causes a person to purchase a game. It's something that looks nice, and it's great. Hey, this is nice. It looks really good. But people do not make purchase decisions based off of this. And I think that's the difference. And that's why those games are not succeeding. Graphics are just eye candy? Yeah, exactly. It's how does it play? Yeah, exactly. It's part of the decision? Oh, everything is part of the decision. But I don't think that it is, I think it's being overemphasized in relation to the actual effect that it has. I'm amazed at useless pretty graphics. Oh, editor has to make compilation me amazed at useless pretty graphics. Oh, I love great graphics. I think we all do. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to play a game with them just because of that. So yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like, there are games that have great graphics, and it's like, wow, this is awesome. This is so cool. Like, I think Demon's Souls is a great fucking example of that. Demon's Souls went so fucking hard, and the graphics were amazing. But at the end of the day, it's not like I'm going to play the game just because of that. I don't really care just because of that. Absolutely not. Elden Ring, yeah, look at that. Great graphics are just the cherry on top. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, no, graphics can't make a bad game good, but they can make an already good game even better. And that's so fucking true. And that's why I got excited about the graphics in Cyberpunk, like those graphics mods. It's because I could play a great game that looked like this. But keep in mind, the game always comes first. And that's what matters. Gameplay, then graphics? Absolutely.